Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the public as well. We are very happy to make this session with you. And this afternoon, we will present a showcase, I think, a partnership showcase within European stakeholders, mainly DFIs and an investment fund, who collectively are participating to create a new investable asset class around nature restoration. So let me introduce our panelists. So first on the left side, we have Leslie Mastrop, who is CEO of BII, and then Mr. Ambroise Fayol, Vice President of EIB, European Investment Bank, and then here on the middle, we have Laurent Fayola, who is Deputy Head of Ardien Infrastructure, and finally, Jean-Baptiste Sabatier, who is Deputy Head of Proparco, which is the private sector arm of AFD, Agence Française de Développement. So welcome to all of you. So today we will first start with an overview on how to address natural capital within financial institutions, investment fund, and then we will deep dive, I think, about more strategic view, and then we will deep dive on how to make a business case on that. So first, I would like to address my first question to Mr. Ambroise Fayol, and to understand how EIB is participating in the biodiversity agenda, and especially on natural capital and nature restoration.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome to you all. You will see that I will do that without a brief, because my brief is like this. So that's fine. I'll survive. I would say the following. What is the role of EIB? EIB is a multilateral development bank. So it is a public bank. Our shareholders are the member states of the European Union. And we are here to finance projects that have a public value, an interest for the European Union. We are not here to take the role of the private sector. We are here to try to catalyze the private sector, to intervene and make sure that thanks to our role and resources, we can do the projects that have a strong European interest. We do that with, for example, risk sharing. That's not the case here. Financing of funds, that's the case here. We are financing a very, very interesting fund. And we are trying to target objectives that are key European Union objectives. And the first objective of the European Union and the first objective of EIB is to support projects that have a climate component. 60% of what we do has a climate component. And in the category of the climate projects that we find very interesting, there are the climate projects that have nature-based aspects, because they are probably the most difficult to finance. Because often these are projects that have no revenue streams. So that's why we are so pleased with the project that Ardien has proposed, because here you see for the first time, and that's what we like, innovation is something that we can finance because we are public. Is something where we can have revenue streams that would come from sale of carbon credits to finance very public interest projects, in particular related to nature, in this case, forestry or reforestation. So very, very interesting, and very pleased that EIB has been able to join the financing of this fund.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Fayol. Let me turn to Proparco.
Thank you.
And
Thank
to
you.
Jean-Baptiste, thank you. Actually, Proparco has set recently a natural capital roadmap, and I would like to understand how the Averroa case addresses your roadmap and Proparco's roadmap on natural capital journey.
Yes, thank you. So as you were stressing at the when you were presenting the different participants to this panel, there in this specific issue, I would say, or topic, definitely Proparco being part of Agence Française de Développement Group is key. As Mr. Fayol was saying, obviously, when you are really committed as a group to climate finance for even decades now, touching this topic and finding a room and a role to play in this market was obvious for Proparco. But then when it comes to playing a role in this market, it was all about, obviously about what role do we have to play and under which condition we'll have to play a role. And there, being part of the group, having AFD, discussing with, for instance, the public authorities in the different countries, the different think tanks was really helpful to define, I would say, a kind of framework which is aligned with Cumming-Morel Biodiversity Agreement, for instance. Then our job as Proparco, as a DFI, is to be a kind of a front runner, to really bring something to the market, having defined this framework, something of quality, and trying to find the good opportunity with the structure, knowing what we can do, and to be one of the first investors in this segment. So definitely the issue there and the challenge was to demonstrate that yes, there is a business case. It is economically viable, and we can play if we identify the correct players. And then obviously this to then mobilize private investment, which is a strong agenda when we talk about this topic, but more globally, I would say for Proparco or for any DFI. And then also it is not only about natural capital, but it's also about developing this project in a global ecosystem, taking in particular into consideration the social dimension of this project, which can be even more tricky, even more sensible than when we were doing, for instance, even we have also a dynamic to tackle in this case when we were doing, I would say, renewable energy projects, which we have been doing for decades also. Then so it came, the RD opportunity came, and Averroa, definitely it was really something very convincing for us when we designed the strategy and we started to implement it. Definitely we think that, and I think it's also the view of the other participants, that there is a business case. You are in a position to demonstrate how we can address this. You have also a kind of ambition, for instance, focusing on removal project. So there is something strong also in terms of view and vision on the market. It's not only about offering the good return on these assets. So definitely it was aligned with the ambition and the exigence, the goal ambition goal we were setting. And definitely you are a strong player with a very large base, not only on this field but on other fields, and your ability to implement and to deploy capital, I think, is one of the strongest we can find in the market. So that's the reason why we consider that coming at an early stage in this opportunity was really in line with what we are defining as a strategy.
Yeah, thank you, Jean-Baptiste. Let me turn to Leslie. Yeah, so Leslie, we all know the action and the agenda of BII on with regard to climate, and I would like to understand more. I think the public as well. What is your journey on natural capital as well?
Thank you very much for having us, and I want to sort of underscore what my colleagues have already mentioned. Firstly, let me just say about British International Investment was created way back in 1948. It's one of the oldest development finance institutions in the world. We operate in Africa, in 45 countries on the African continent, where we invest roughly $1 billion every year, and also about $1 billion or so in Asia, with a big focus on India, South Asia, and Southeast Asia, countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines, and so on. The second point I'd like to make is that all of our institutions here are very active as providers of capital in climate finance. 41% of BII's capital last year, of the $2.1 billion that we invested in 2024, went to climate finance. One of the new fast-growing areas in the development finance domain is natural capital. Natural capital, whether it be our oceans, our forests, water, biodiversity. There is no market price associated with it. There is no ability to price these assets. And development finance institutions, as you know, have the benefit and the advantage that we have long-term lenses. We look at the world through, we have, if you like, patient capital. We don't have to generate, profits in the short term and pay dividends to our shareholder. So it is expected for our institutions to play a leadership role in creating an enabling environment for natural capital to come onto the balance sheets of countries, of companies. We're right here on the edge of the Amazon for breathing healthy, clean oxygen every year. All of humanity need these forests, and yet there's no market value attached to it. One of the real challenges for BII and for all of our institutions over the next few years is to develop financial instruments, new financing approaches to put value on nature. The Brazilian government has just developed, as you might know, something called a Tropical Forest Forever Facility. It's a very ambitious idea of a $125 billion fund that the Brazilian government has just incubated. At BII and all of our institutions, EIB, Proparco, all of the DFIs, we will play a role over the next number of years. And this is going to be a journey. It's not going to happen overnight. But we will develop new financial instruments to try and, if you like, make sure that a market price is attached to these natural assets. This also requires for us to develop frameworks, accounting standards, and create the if you like, the asset class, because the private sector will only come in once we have done that initial sort of work. So the real value of development finance institutions is that we can be the sort of the path-breaking institutions to create the environment for the private sector to come and invest afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much for three of you. And Laurent, so Ardian is a well-established private investment firm. So what finally motivated the decision to come in here and to be here, seated at your place today within the three DFIs and in this particular moment?
No, so as it was mentioned, I think Jean-Baptiste mentioned it. It's true that we're very strong. Our usual business on infra is more on transportation, is energy, is telecom, right? But I would say sustainability has always been a very strong element of our investment thesis, right? And you know that is really something that we are following extremely closely. We got objective on all our investments, I would say on the investment side. We are measuring it. We got data scientists in the company getting data. We got online, for example, CO2 emission on airports. So that is really something which is in our DNA. But anytime we are doing it, we got always one question is, what more can we do? What more can we do? And answering that question, we developed three initiatives. One is pushing the boundaries of helping small developers on renewables. And we got an evergreen fund for that, which now is more than 1 billion of funds and more than 1.5 gigawatts. And that is pushing the boundaries. And we need on this one to grow. Expectation is maybe 3 to 4 billion. Second one is what we develop on the hydrogen side. We team up with former people from Air Liquide, and we raised 2 billion, and that is really to look at investment on the full value chain of hydrogen. And the most recent one is exactly this one, but I think it's something very promising also, is how can we develop major carbon sink, right? Using nature. It's not only carbon, because we see that at an holistic play also, including biodiversity and social. You won't do that kind of project without local population. If you miss that part, people will cut the trees, right? So that is really like embedded in our I would say investment thesis. Biodiversity is something extremely strong. You know, we see a lot of people also developing fund on tech on biodiversity. I think the starting point is how can I recreate habitat, how can I recreate the environment? And I think this fund is really also answering the biodiversity, I would say, question. And to be we're extremely pleased to be working with those very nice people. It's something very new. We need to show that we can deliver. We need to show that we can also deliver the return. I think something which is interesting is we see a lot of people interested. If you're playing with quality, right, additionality, biodiversity, social, you can see that for three company, for example, for GAFAs, for car manufacturers, those carbon certificates got a very, very strong value. So we need to show that it's possible. We need to show, and thanks again. We are very thankful to those three DFIs to be with us in the adventure.
Thank you very much. So we had overviews from all of you, and I would like to deep dive on the technicalities, maybe on why you end up to make a business case on this fund. So we all know that carbon market is a carbon credit is a very complicated instrument. It's at the end of the day a bundle of risks. And it's difficult to address many issues related to nature-related carbon credits regarding, for example, the permanence, the additionality, and many other points. And so far, I understand that the investment mandate is often lasts for over around 15 years. So while nature requires lasting commitment, so I would like to know, like, after the capex deployment into the projects, what are the kind of guarantees that are in place to ensure long-term preservation?
So I think the point which is very important is that we know how to develop a project. We've been doing that for more than 20 years. Taking the case of renewable, it's very, very similar, right? You need to build something, you need to get an offtake contract. Would it be like 15, 20 years? That is really like what we are doing every day. The point is, here again, there's a critical point is how can you associate the local communities, right? Because you need them. So first of all, we need to make sure that we got the legal, would say, aspect of the project. So could it be that you're buying the land? Could it be it's a concession contract? Could it be that you are lending the space to a local community, for example? That is critical. That's the starting point. If you don't get that, run away, right? It will be extremely difficult to develop. But that is something we are used to do. Where we get question, and that may come on I mean, as we are going forward, is what do we do of this project after 40 years, right? Everything what we'll do, we will fully de-risk the project. So it's doing the capex, is finding the offtake, is associating the local population also to those projects. But the point is, after 40 years, should I give back the land to the state? Should I give back to, if you acquire the land, should it be run by NGOs tomorrow? So we will have to answer those kind of questions. What is true today is, one, we're looking at concession, and we've been working with Adriada. We got example on that in Ivory Coast, for example, and I think they've been quite successful on this one. Is to say, let's put directly in the concession agreement some clause mentioning that after 40 years, right, we'll give the project back to the state, but they will have to keep again 40 years this project as it is, right? So that would be, I would say, quite important. We got also on the social play. What can we do? We should help the local population. We should maybe design some infrastructure. we should design maybe some agroforestry to help them to maybe for tea, for coffee, for whatever, to help them. And all this, there's between, from what we've seen on the recent discussion, between 15 and 20% that should stay with local population, right? We need them like to fight against fire, for example, to plant, we need them, to get a nursery, we need them. So that is really what we need to do over the next, I would say, 2 to 3 years doing the project, to make sure that we can de-risk, but we can make sure that we leave something that can last, right? Something we can use also tech. I think we seeing like I've seen on looking around that people are also doing solution to supervision, for example. But again, I would say drone could be very useful. Local population to survey, local population to make sure we get the right, let's say, firewall, fire break. Looking also something I forget, which is very linked to the expertise also of Adriada, is what kind of species of trees do you plant? It should be native, right? And it should be not only 2 or 3, it should be, maybe we got cases where it's 50 species, right? So that would be, I mean, all taken into account, what could deliver the stability for those projects.
Thank you very much. So I understand that, like for example, greenfield projects, you can address some risk through contractual solutions, but or technologies, etc. But in order to ensure the long-term lasting of nature, you need really to put people at the center and the territory at the end of the day. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's.
And on this, we won't be alone. We know we are working with local developers. Local mean like 40, 50 people on the ground, right? It's like, it's a daily work to supervise, making sure that, for example, you get the right number of nurseries, you get the right people in the right place. So it's not like only, I would say, 12 people in Paris supervising everything. It's coordinating for sure. But for each project, you need maybe 30, 40, 50 people on the ground every day.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Jean-Baptiste, yeah, from Proparco, how do you address the very tricky issues in relation to carbon markets, as mentioned, and also on social safeguard, even if our colleague from Ardian, Laurent, has just mentioned few, but I would like to understand from a DFI point of view how this very special asset is addressed, the issue related to capital natural are addressed.
Yes, I think the key word, the two keywords are ambition and quality. We know that this market can be, to a certain extent, controversial, and I think that it's because of this that we have to play a role. We have to choose a good partner to do so. So exactly what you have shared with us, Laurent, definitely explain how do you address what is important for us, and we think it's important to tackle in order to bring confidence to the market. And I think the FI job is also to be a front runner and to bring confidence and to define, to bring confidence in the way to define, adapt the standard to have something which is of quality, which is bringing sustainability to the sector. Definitely on this field as in other fields, but I think it's even stronger in this field. It's really a science-based approach we have to adopt, and the market and the sector has to adopt. So definitely what's important for us is when we start working alongside I would say a player, a fund, and a management company, we have to be sure that they are also inclined to this approach, be the science-based approach. That's also the fact that we have an independent view on what we are doing collectively. You know, the approach of verificating, certifying the application of the standard and the result we are bringing is also strong. And then on top of this, to have something of quality, it's about the whole ecosystem, exactly what you were saying, to ensure that when we are doing a deal alongside a fund manager, we are taking into account all the co-benefits and also the impact, the impact we can generate around the project, and that's what it's key, and also to give a voice to the people living and acting in this ecosystem, as you were saying, Laurent. So I think it's really strong. To a certain extent, we are starting the journey. We know, and there also it's interesting to be part of the group. We know that, and it's good. We have a certain number of initiatives which are powered by the private sectors and actors pointing the private sector, such as DFI. We know that certain, I would say, public and common standards have still to be defined. So also, I think that we have to play a role, being within AFD group, to build the link and the arena, the debate arena, to have something which is coherent, consistent, and will also set a standard which will not be only for the private sector, but also something common to all the players and the stakeholder in this field.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jean-Baptiste. Let me turn to Leslie. Leslie, I would like to understand why BII is participating through a fund, Ardian, and this particular fund, Averroa, in your journey, as you mentioned earlier in the discussion of BII.
Thank you very much. I guess the first point to make is that, BII historically, over many, many years, over decades actually, had a business model which was anchored around us either investing in equity, meaning we take equity stakes in businesses, we provide debt, and then also we support funds. We do that because we do not come with a business model which dictates what products we offer. We look at what are the conditions in the market, and we specifically want to identify deep pockets of excellence and expertise, people with deep track record. They're in the market for almost 30 years. So one of the things we do is to identify successful entrepreneurs, successful funds, so that we can help them scale. We like to believe that we can provide growth capital, if you like. At the end of the day, as I said earlier on, not in future want to be seen as providers of capital, but we want to be the catalyst that help great ideas. We are now at an early stage of this natural capital domain. So now it's about building the system, making sure that we integrate local communities as stakeholders. So in short, we are in this transaction because we back founders who have demonstrated success.
And thank you for all of you. And I will close with Mr. Fayolle. And as you mentioned earlier, the very specific role of EIB in this market. I would like to hear about what are, in your opinion, the key enablers to attract and grow these markets, both in public and private participants, while ensuring, I think, one key point, which is the complementary roles of each one.
Look, I think my colleagues have mostly said what I would say. So I will be very brief, and I will say that in other words. The interest of development finance institutions, be them bilateral like my two colleagues or multilateral like EIB, is that they are patient capital. So we are not in a rush, if I may say so. We are banks, so we want our money back. But we are patient. And especially when you deal with nature, this is something that is extremely important. The other thing I would like to say is we are all struggling to find the right structure to deal with nature-based solutions. And that's what also public institutions are here for, to support those hoping that it's going to work. and that it can be replicated and scaled up, because that's at the end what is needed. We need a lot more of the Averroes funds, and we need them everywhere in the world. And to me, what is extremely interesting in this approach, at a time when we have so many discussions about how to implement Article 6, is if we can put in place offtake agreements that are stable, then we have the solution to one of the big impediments to develop these projects, especially for funds. This is to have stable revenue streams. And here I think we deal with that. So that's why we are supporting it. And we hope it will work, not only for Ardian, but for ourselves, and even more for nature. So that's to me, the most important point. And if it works, we can show that it can be replicated and scaled up.
Thank you very much. And the last word.
Maybe just one word and be very short. I really want to thank warmly Leslie, Ambroise, and Jean-Baptiste for their support. For anchoring the fund, it's critical, you know, it's a new activity. So let's hope it will be super successful for all of us, but it's a first step, right? And I expect that we can drag also some other DFIs. But my dream is really that we can bring on top of those key people who are front runners, insurers, pension funds, and really multiply, because it's a first step, but I really believe that we can do something even bigger. So thanks for all of you.
Thank you very much for all of you. So I retain long-term people and the planet. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.